People always assume the second wife is either stupid or evil, too dumb to see the red flags or too selfish to care. They're wrong about me. The first time I saw Daniel Miller again, he was standing in the frozen food aisle at Whole Foods, arguing with a woman half his age about cauliflower pizza crusts. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I might puke right there between the gluten-free waffles and the frozen acai bowls. I hadn't seen him in 4 years. 4 years since the divorce papers. 4 years since I walked out of that Newton house with a single suitcase and my dignity hanging on by a thread. 4 years since I learned the difference between being strong and being disposable. And now here he was. Same stupidly handsome face, same practiced charm, same posture of a man who expects the world to make space for him. Only this time he had a ring on his finger, and a wife who looked like she still believed in love. I didn't mean to stare, I really didn't, but my body reacted before my brain could catch up, like muscle memory from a past life. My hands went cold, my chest tightened. Somewhere deep inside, an alarm I thought I'd dismantled years ago flickered back to life. The woman with him, his wife, was beautiful in that effortless, influencer-adjacent way. Long dark hair pulled into a loose ponytail, oversized sweater, leggings that probably cost more than my monthly electric bill. She was laughing, pushing the cart with one hand, holding her phone in the other. Happy, open, unarmed. Daniel noticed me first. Of course he did. He always had a sixth sense for women who once loved him. "Elena?" he said, like my name was a question he already knew the answer to. I considered pretending I didn't hear him, considered grabbing my frozen dumplings and disappearing into the parking garage like a ghost. Instead, I turned around. "Daniel," I said, cool and flat. "Wow, this is unexpected." That's when his wife looked up. Her eyes flicked from him to me, quick and curious. Not threatened, not suspicious, just trying to place where she knew me from. "Hi," she said easily. "I'm Claire." Claire. Of course her name was Claire. "Elena," I replied. "Nice to meet you." Daniel cleared his throat. "Elena and we used to be married." There it was, the moment where the air shifts and everyone pretends it hasn't. Claire's eyebrows lifted slightly, not in fear, in interest. "Oh," she said, then smiled. "That's cool, actually. Daniel talks about you sometimes." I almost laughed. "Sometimes?" "Of course not," she said quickly. "You're like a total badass. Interior design, real estate stuff. I stalked your LinkedIn once. Hope that's not weird." Daniel shot her a look. "Claire?" "What? It's public." I liked her immediately, and that scared the hell out of me. We made awkward small talk for another minute, jobs, neighborhoods, the absurd price of organic berries, before I made my escape. As I walked away, I felt Daniel's eyes on my back, heavy with things he didn't get to own anymore. I should have left it there. I didn't. 2 weeks later, Claire emailed me. No subject line, just my name. "Hi, Elena. I know this might be strange, but I was hoping we could talk. Coffee, maybe? No drama, I promise. Claire." I stared at the screen for a long time. My therapist would have told me to ignore it, protect my peace. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. But curiosity is a dangerous thing when you already know how the story ends. We met at a cafe in Back Bay on a rainy Thursday afternoon, the kind of place with reclaimed wood tables and oat milk lattes that cost $7 for no reason. Clay arrived early. She stood when she saw me, nervous but smiling. "Thank you for coming," she said, seriously. "Talk to me," I said, sitting down. "What's going on?" She wrapped her hands around her cup like it was grounding her. "I don't think Daniel is cheating on me," she said quickly. I blinked. "That's good, right?" "But," she continued, "I think he's disappearing." I leaned back in my chair. "Explain." She exhaled. When we first got together, he was incredible, attentive, warm, made me feel like I was the only person in the room, like I was necessary. There it was, the hook he always used. Now, I asked softly, now I feel like a support character in his life, like I'm there to make things run smoothly while he works through whatever he's going through. My jaw tightened. Does he tell you you're so good at taking care of things? I asked. Her eyes snapped up. Yes. And that you're calm and understanding in a way other people aren't? Yes, she whispered. How did you... And when you're upset, does he act wounded, like your feelings are an inconvenience he didn't sign up for? Claire went still. Oh my God, she said. You're describing my marriage. I took a sip of my coffee, hand steady. He's not cheating, I said. Not in the way people usually mean. Then what is it? She asked. He feeds on emotional labor. He needs a woman who will absorb his uncertainty so he never has to face it himself. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. I thought I was failing, she said, like maybe I wasn't soft enough or patient enough. I shook my head. He doesn't want a partner, I said. He wants a regulator. She stared at the table. Did he do this to you? I hesitated, thought of Serafina, of Martha, of the way I'd been erased one small kindness at a time. Yes, I said, and worse. Claire swallowed. I don't want to leave, not yet, but I need to understand what I'm dealing with. I looked at her then, really looked. She wasn't stupid, she wasn't blind, she wasn't a villain. She was a woman standing at the beginning of something I barely survived. And for the first time since my divorce, I felt something unexpected rise in my chest. Not rage, not jealousy. Resolve. If you're going to stay, I said carefully, you need to stop trying to be the good wife. She frowned. Then what should I be? I met her eyes. Observant, strategic, and very, very honest with yourself. Outside, the rain streaked down the windows like the city was trying to wash something clean. Claire nodded slowly. Will you help me? She asked. I thought about the woman I used to be, the one who stayed too long, the one who played fair while everyone else played dirty. Then I smiled. Yes, I said, but you need to understand something first. What? This doesn't end with him changing. It ends with you seeing him clearly. She didn't look away. I'm ready, she said. And that's when I knew. This story wasn't about Daniel anymore. It was about what happens when the second wife refuses to be sacrificed. I didn't tell Daniel I'd met Elena. That wasn't strategy at first. It was instinct. The same instinct that tells you not to touch a hot stove twice or not to wake a man who's pretending to sleep. After that coffee, something in me shifted. Not dramatically, no Lifetime movie epiphany, just a subtle recalibration, like adjusting the brightness on a screen and suddenly noticing how dark everything had been. I started paying attention, not in a paranoid way. I wasn't snooping through his phone or planting recording devices like some unhinged Reddit wife. I just stopped filling in the blanks for him, stopped smoothing the edges, stopped doing emotional cleanup on aisle Daniel. The first crack showed up on a Tuesday night. Daniel came home late, tossed his keys on the counter, and sighed like the weight of the world had personally wronged him. Long day? I asked, neutral. He nodded. Clients, deadlines, everyone wants something. I waited. Normally, I'd step in there, ask follow-up questions, offer reassurance, tell him how amazing he was, how anyone would be lucky to work with him. Instead, I took a sip of my wine. He glanced at me. You okay? Yeah, I said, just tired. That was it. 2 words, calm, honest. The silence stretched. Daniel shifted. You're being kind of distant. There it was. I don't feel distant, I said. I feel quiet. He frowned, like he couldn't quite compute that difference. Well, he said slowly, you usually help me decompress. I looked at him, really looked. Not angry, not cruel, just expectant, like I was a function he'd pressed a button for. I didn't know that was my job, I said lightly. He laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. I didn't mean it like that. I know, I said, but I did. That night, lying in bed beside him, I noticed how quickly he fell asleep once I stopped rubbing his back, how he turned away from me instead of toward me. I stared at the ceiling, Elena's voice in my head. He doesn't want a partner, he wants a regulator. The next few weeks were illuminating. I stopped anticipating his moods, stopped adjusting myself to fit them. And Daniel didn't like it. He started getting irritated over small things. The dishwasher loaded wrong. The house felt off. I wasn't as warm lately. One night, over dinner, he said it outright. "You've changed." I set my fork down. "Everyone changes." He studied me. "Since when?" I smiled. "Since always." That answer pissed him off. "You know what I mean, Claire," he said. "You used to be easy." Easy. The word landed between us like a dropped plate. "I used to try harder," I said. He leaned back, arms crossed. "Try harder at what?" "At making things smooth," I said. "At keeping you comfortable." His jaw tightened. "I never asked you to do that." I thought of Elena, of everything she hadn't said soon enough. "You didn't have to," I replied. "You just stopped doing it yourself." That's when he went quiet, the dangerous kind. Daniel's manipulation was never loud. He didn't yell. He withdrew. He punished with absence, with wounded silence that made you feel like you kicked a puppy you didn't even see. He got up, cleared his plate, and said, "I'm going to bed." I stayed at the table long after he left. That night, I opened a notes app on my phone and titled it something boring, Observations. I wrote down dates, phrases, patterns, not because I planned to use them, because I needed proof that what I was seeing was real. A week later, Daniel's mother, Martha, came to visit. I'd only met her a handful of times before, enough to know she smiled with her mouth and evaluated with her eyes. She hugged Daniel, ignored me for a half a beat too long, then said, "Claire, dear, you look tired." Strike one. "I've been busy," I said pleasantly. She sat at our kitchen island like she owned it. "Marriage takes energy," she said, "especially when your husband is under pressure." Daniel sighed dramatically. "Mom," she continued, "I'm just saying a man like Daniel needs peace at home." There it was, the script. Same one Elena had warned me about. I agree. Everyone deserves peace. Martha smiled. "Then you understand how important it is to not make things harder than they need to be." I met her gaze. I try not to. Daniel watched us like he was waiting to see who'd flinch first. Later that night, Daniel was distant again, cold, short. "You embarrassed me today," he said finally. I blinked. "How?" "You challenged my mother." I agreed with her. He shook his head. "You made it weird." I laughed, surprised by the sound. I think it was already weird. His eyes darkened. "You're becoming difficult," he said quietly. And there it was. The moment Elena had described, the pivot, the rebrand, from loving to labeled. "I'm becoming honest," I replied. "You just don't like what I'm saying." He stood up. "I can't do this tonight." "Do what?" "Feel like the bad guy in my own house." The irony almost knocked the breath out of me. That night, I texted Elena. "He called me difficult today." Her reply came immediately. That's the word he uses when you stop absorbing his discomfort. I stared at my phone, heart pounding. What do I do? 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Then, "You keep watching, and you don't confront him yet." Yet. The next escalation came faster than I expected. Daniel started forgetting things. Plans we'd made, conversations we'd had. He'd say, I don't remember agreeing to that, or you must have misunderstood. Gaslighting light, just enough to make me doubt myself. Except now I had notes, and screenshots, and timestamps. One night, after he denied promising to come to my work event, I calmly pulled up my phone. "You texted me," I said, handing it to him. He stared at the screen, silent. Then he laughed. "Wow, you're keeping receipts now?" I shrugged. "Helps me remember." He handed the phone back, expression unreadable. "You're acting like you don't trust me." "I trust my memory." That was the night he slept on the couch. Not in anger, in punishment. A few days later, Martha called. "I'm worried about Daniel," she said. "He sounds unhappy." I smiled to myself. "I'm sorry to hear that." "He's sensitive," she continued. "He needs a wife who understands him." I thought of Elena, of Serafina, of the pattern repeating itself like a bad remix. "I do understand him," I said. "That's why I'm concerned." There was a pause. "You sound defensive." I ended the call 10 minutes later, hands shaking. That night, I added a new section to my notes. Third parties. Because here's the thing no one tells you. You don't wake up one day married to the villain. You wake up married to someone who slowly convinces everyone else that you are the problem. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. I lay in bed next to Daniel, listening to him breathe, and felt something settle deep in my chest. Not fear, clarity. I didn't know how this would end yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to disappear quietly, and I wasn't going to be rewritten as the crazy wife who changed. If Daniel wanted a regulator, he picked the wrong woman, because I wasn't here to manage his emotions anymore. I was here to witness the truth, and that, I was starting to realize, scared him more than anger ever could. The thing about seeing clearly is that it ruins denial forever. Once you clock the pattern, you can't unsee it. Every sigh becomes data. Every pause becomes loaded. Every "you're overthinking" starts sounding less like reassurance and more like a threat. Daniel didn't explode when he realized I wasn't playing along anymore. He adapted. That was his real talent. He started being charming again. Flowers on a random Wednesday, compliments slipped into conversation like bait. "You've always been so intuitive. You're the only one who really gets me. I don't know what I'd do without you." Old Claire would have melted. New Claire wrote it down, because the warmth only came when I pulled back. It was never consistent, it was corrective. And then came the meeting. He told me about it casually, like it wasn't a grenade rolled gently across the kitchen counter. "My firm might be restructuring," he said, scrolling on his phone. "Could mean some financial tightening for a bit." I nodded. "Okay." No panic, no scrambling, no reassurance. He glanced up. "You're not worried?" "I trust we'll figure it out," I said. He watched me too closely. "You've been weirdly calm lately." I smiled. "I've been honest lately." That night, Elena called me. "I heard something," she said. I closed the bedroom door quietly. "What kind of something?" "The kind where Daniel's name came up in a conversation he didn't know he was part of." My heart kicked. "Go on." "He's been positioning himself as unsupported," she said carefully, "framing you as emotionally unavailable, overwhelmed, not cut out for this phase of life." I leaned against the wall, eyes closed. "So I'm the problem," I said. "Of course you are," Elena replied dryly. "You always are when you stop doing unpaid emotional labor." "What do I do?" I asked. She paused. "Nothing yet," she said. "Let him keep talking." 2 days later, Martha showed up unannounced. She sat on my couch like a judge settling in for deliberation. "I won't beat around the bush," she said. "Daniel is unhappy." I nodded. "I know." "He feels unsupported," she continued. "Marriage isn't supposed to be this hard." I met her eyes. "It isn't." Her lips thinned. Then why does he seem so diminished? There it was, the rewrite in real time. I think Daniel is struggling with his own expectations, I said evenly. Martha scoffed. He needs a wife who lifts him up. I smiled. He has one. She leaned forward. Then why is he falling apart? I took a breath. This was the moment, the fork in the road. I don't think Daniel is falling apart. I think he's uncomfortable not being centered. Silence. You're very articulate, but marriage requires sacrifice. Yes, from both people. She stood abruptly. I worry you're not willing to do what's necessary. I stayed seated. I worry Daniel doesn't know how. That night, Daniel confronted me, not yelling, never yelling. I feel like you're pulling away, he said. I feel like I'm standing still. He ran a hand through his hair. My mother thinks you're resentful. I laughed once. Of what? Of me, of my needs. I looked at him. Your needs aren't the issue. Then what is? You expect women to disappear inside you, and when they don't, you panic. His face hardened. That's not fair. It's accurate, I replied. He stared at me, eyes sharp. Are you saying I'm the problem? I didn't hesitate. Yes. Something in him cracked then, not loudly, internally. You've changed. You're cold. I nodded. I'm clear. He exhaled. If this is how you feel, maybe we need space. There it was, the move he thought he was making. I agree. He blinked. You do? Yes, I said. I'll pack tonight. He froze. Wait. I don't want a break. I want an ending. You're serious? His voice wavered. I'm more serious than I've ever been. He stood, pacing. You're just going to walk away? No, I said. I'm walking forward. The divorce wasn't explosive, it was surgical. I already had copies of everything, financials, emails, messages where he framed himself as misunderstood. Elena had quietly connected me with a lawyer who specialized in men like Daniel, men who wanted to look reasonable while doing unreasonable things. Daniel tried to pivot, tried therapy, tried tears, tried nostalgia. You were supposed to be different, he said once. I was, I replied. You just didn't want that version. Martha called me heartless. Friends asked what happened. I told the truth without embellishment. I stopped managing his emotions. He didn't know how to survive that. 6 months later, I ran into Daniel again, this time alone. He looked smaller, not ruined, just exposed. You look good, he said. I feel good, I replied. He hesitated. You were right. I nodded. I know. He laughed weakly. You didn't have to destroy everything. I met his gaze. I didn't. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Because that was the thing. Nothing had been destroyed. It had simply been revealed. Later that night, I texted Elena. It's done. She replied, proud of you. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my balcony, city lights blinking like a promise. People love to villainize the second wife. They say she should have known better, that she stole something, that she enabled the damage. But here's the truth. I wasn't the villain. I was the witness. And once I stopped absorbing someone else's dysfunction, the whole story collapsed under its own weight. Turns out the most dangerous woman in the room isn't the loud one. It's the one who sees clearly and refuses to disappear. If this story spoke to you, like, subscribe, and stay. More stories about women who see clearly are coming.